Mergaze. That would be so cool. So Cecilia immediately draws a blank, which she desperately needed according to Morris last game. And she could play mergaze, which is a really cool word. It's a food word. Lots of Scrabble players are big foodies. So I would not be surprised if she sees that really quickly. Otherwise, there are other options, Gumtree being one of them. That might be the only other option.
Yeah, I only saw Gumtree. I didn't think to make the blank a Z, so those might be the only two. And it looks like she's writing stuff down right now. So maybe she's putting the rack on her sheet of paper and maybe just trying different letters, like thinking, does an A go with these letters, etc. So it looks like she doesn't see at least some of these bingos right away.
Well, she might. Honestly, sometimes I've noticed that top players will see options immediately, but it won't seem like they are because they're just going through every possible blank letter to see if they're missing something. So it's honestly possible that she's seen both mergaze and Gumtree, and she's just making sure there's nothing that's positionally better than one of those plays. And as we were talking about, I think she is writing down the rack because lots of players are very visual, and being able to write down the rack they have, even though they can see it on the screen, will really help their minds, their brains to reconfigure the tiles in the right order. So she sees Gumtree, and that's going to be a really nice start for Cecilia.
Yeah, and so there are definitely a few different places where she could have played it. Josh, do you like this choice of placement?
I do. Points are good. This is the only placement that doubles the M on the double letter, and other placements have their good aspects, bad aspects. But I think in this position, just taking the points is recommended. So Jason now has the X, but he also has a V and 3 N's. So how do you deal with this?
It's a good question. I mean, I'm wondering if he could do a setup here. Re and Rex are both words. So if there's any play that can achieve that objective, that'd be great. I'm not actually seeing Earn. I don't think is worth it for that. And I think Cecilia could probably guess his plan if he did a play like that. So I think exchanging looks fine here. It is interesting that he's keeping X as a leave. That's an interesting choice.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You were mentioning Earn under the REE and Gumtree, and that what that would do is set up the X in 2 triple letter spots under the RE for next turn. But yeah, as I think we know that scoring so little points might backfire, and these players know how to score points, and I really like the exchange here. The X is very interesting, though. He's keeping the X because he sees there are 2 spots already to play it. But early in the game, you learn that the X isn't actually that amazing of a tile. However, here, he's trying excitate, I guess. Is that a word?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know for sure though. Yeah, so
I think it's excite. I think it's excite, Jason. But it's worth a shot. Like
we were really excitated to see whether that was a word. But
okay.
So the top engine recommended play is Axe, making LAEX and DE. It looks like a pretty standard play. So once Jason accepts the fact that excitate can't play, I think he will opt for that fairly quickly.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely close to some things like auxetic, excited, but Axe next to bundled where he's about to play it is definitely the play here, and it scores a nice 43 points. So keeping that X does pay off. However, scoring a bingo is better than scoring 43 points. So it might have been slightly better to keep some bingo tiles last turn on the exchange, but who knows?
Yeah, and that will give lushing though, because Axel is a word. So I mean, there was a spot anyways off of the Gumtree placement. She could add an S to that. So she definitely has availability for bingos this turn. Jason picked up both blank last time. Cecilia is going to have both blanks this time. And so we can see the power of the blanks pretty quickly in these matches.
Yeah, and definitely some options here. For Cecilia, Lushing is a good find by my co-commentator, Morris Greenberg. I don't know why I felt the need to... Your name is right there. Well, not on the screen, but yeah, Lushing is a good option. She can also choose to hook an S onto Gumtree to make Gumtrees and in-halls. She can play Sunlight to the T in Gumtree, and she can play Hurlings through the R. I was for a second there, I thought she might have a 9-letter word from LA, but unfortunately that was not meant to be. I love 9-letter words. How about you, Morris?
When I can find them, I love them. When my opponent has them, I hate them. So it's all what benefits me in the game. I think those are the words I like the most. What considerations would he be doing on these bingo turns? Just because these are all within 4 or 5 points of each other. Obviously, you want more points, but what other objectives do you look for when you know you're going to get a bingo and your leave doesn't matter that much?
Well, if I'm Cecilia, and I would be very happy to be Cecilia because she's already ahead by 61 points here, I'm looking for the option that makes it long-term and short-term maybe hardest for Jason to come back. So that could be in-halls. What in-halls does is it blocks that E in Gumtree, which is a really nice spot that Jason can come back for an 8-letter word hitting the triple word on the top or the bottom. It wouldn't block the bottom, but it's more likely he's going to hit from the top. So I'd be looking at the board after these options and just trying to picture it a few turns from now, see maybe what option might seem the best here. And it might be Hurlings. I don't know what it is, honestly. Everything's very close.
Yeah, so she looks like she's playing in-halls now. She might have not seen Lushing also. That definitely is possible. It's a weird ing word. So she's putting it back on her rack, so maybe she still is looking. But I definitely think the idea of pluralizing Gumtree is a really solid idea, just because you can play 7s. You can put a letter above the E or the last E in Gumtree or directly below, and that means a lot of different tiles can start a 7-letter word and play. So I think it is the right idea to block that area. Whether in-halls or Lushing does that in a way that's more advantageous for you, I don't know. Lushing does take some front hooks, like flushing, for instance, and blushing. So that could be somewhat hard to deal with. So I think in-halls is a perfectly good option.
Oh, you're talking about Lushing and Gumtrees. I was looking with Axel. That's interesting. I think I would probably play the Axel one before the Gumtrees one.
Oh, interesting.
So I think another thing to consider, I mean, 7-letter words, preventing 7-letter words is really great when you're ahead like Cecilia is, but also 8-letter words. And what in-halls does is it actually allows a lot more 8-letter words. And we can see here that if Cecilia had played Hurlings, which happens to be my choice, that would have blocked all of the words that Jason now currently has with that R in Gumtrees. So it's obviously an anecdotal experience. Who knows what would happen if you did this 100, 1,000 times? But it is definitely something to consider to create all these spots. And yeah, Hurlings would have given this word back. I know.
Yeah, that was going to be my point.
Tell me in the
would have
chat.
come down either way. So it looks like Jason does have his response bingo, which is exactly what he needs if he wants to claw back from 130 points down. So he's now only 50 points down. But Cecilia is seeing a beautiful play of verbiage. Wow, what a good find. That was not on my radar. Through that G, awesome. It was very obstructed. So,
and now, look at this. In 2 turns, I mean, I think you're about to say the same thing when I interrupted you, Morris, but now there's so many spots to go on this board. I think Echinated is good.
Well, what I was going to say, I think that gives Jason another bingo. Isn't Tentorio a word?
Yeah, Tentorio is a word. And yeah, and I think now we're just going to see sparks fly here, honestly. If these players keep drawing these balanced racks,
Yes.
there's just a lot happening now on this board. There's the D hook on Echinate, making Echinated, which is really, really big. That already hits a double letter score. You're going to be able to hit a triple word score. There's now that prime column with the EN that verbiage makes that will go down to the triple word score if you have a 7-letter word there. And now after Tentoria, there's even more stuff going on. So now she's trying Echinates, which is smart. You have to make sure that these things aren't words.
Oh, she has another bingo, Pyranos, through the R and Gumtrees.
Ooh. And you're not even looking there, to be honest, right? Like, you see this board, you're like, okay, this is like, what am I looking at? I'm looking at the spot with Echinate. I'm looking at the spot that verbiage opened. I'm looking at all these other things, and that R in Gumtrees just seems so irrelevant at this point in the game that your eyes might not even look at it. And so this is always a good spot when the board is so open like this, when there's so many possibilities. You have to just like look very closely, like the whole board, maybe just creep a little bit. I don't know. That might help sometimes. What do you think?
Yeah, I actually often go the other route. I often think, what eights can my rack make? So I might see dyspnoea here, with a D is another word. And so then I might look what D's there are on the board or what R's there are on the board for Pyranos. Just because we saw in the last game, Munster was a really hard word to see over the board. And so if I first limit my search to look for specific letters, then rather find the right spots, I think I'm more likely to find even those hidden gems.
That's definitely true. That's definitely true. If you have
it takes more time though, because you go through all the alphabet. So
yeah, no, definitely. Personally, I guess this is just a difference because I feel like I'm not as good at finding those 8-letter words when I'm just quizzing myself. I always look at the board first, and that's very interesting. I mean, everybody plays the game of Scrabble differently, especially at the top levels. You'll see patterns that arise. We saw Rioja a few times last night. But yeah, the way to approach positions varies immensely, and that's just one of the other things that I love about this game. So spacey, it seems to be Cecilia's choice here. She did not spot Pyranos yet. There's
would
still
you play
time.
Pacey over Spacey here? Is that way too risky?
Way too risky. But that's a very interesting idea to set that S up in 2 triple words. Now,
meanwhile, Jason does have the key echinated hook, so he's going to play
score at least 60 points, right?
59. So
one off this time.
Yeah.
I remember Cecilia playing height for 60, and I got it spot on this time. I was just a little bit off. I really need to get those quick scores going. I think those quick maths.
Yeah, I always need to count it out. I've never tried to intuit what the score could be. I just say count it, just make sure you know what the right score is, and don't worry too much about guessing it.
Again, this is really eye-opening. Like, there's so many different experiences
for how to play.
Yeah, I mean, what is this? Our 4th date, and we're really getting into the nitty-gritty here.
Yeah. So it looks like Jason also picked up the Z and the Q after. What a pull of HQWZ.
Yeah, wow. That's pretty incredible.
I don't know if you want that on this board just because it is such an open board and you want to go for bingos in a lot of ways, but he can definitely score next turn. So we'll see what he does after Cecilia this turn. So she didn't get the most friendly draw for what she kept. What would be your objectives on a turn like this, Josh?
Poutine.
Poutine? It is delicious. I would not blame you.
It's definitely poutine. we both have a lot of experience with the city of Montreal, and this is just a perfect spot to play that Canadian delicacy. It's really, yeah. I mean, to be perfectly honest, it's not a great play. It only scores 20 points. You're keeping an O, which is a negatively valued letter. It's not terrible, but you always have to do what you can with what you've got, and I think that's probably the play here. But
Well, she should be looking at the bag. I hope she does, because she might see there are 5 O's left and no more E's. So that would be something I would be thinking about. Is there some way to make a play where I could keep the last E in the game?
Yeah.
Because it's super early to have all the E's gone. But that sometimes happens when you have this many bingos. It just is. And if you actually look, we're now simulating. As a reminder, how we arrange it before simulation is based on score and leave rather than board dynamics or tile pool variations. And in this case, it is better to keep the E and another vowel than play off most of your tiles and keep only one vowel. Just because I think the E is a really good tile, and you don't want to get rid of the last one of those.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting thing. I did not notice that. So that's why we're seeing potion and option as options here, because they keep that last E and they get rid of those O's, which is a lot more friendly for the tiles that are to come here. That's very interesting. Maybe if I notice that, I play something else.
Yeah, so we have not seen her look at the tile bag yet this turn, so we really have to hope she does in order to even think about that. I know in tournaments it's a lot more natural to be looking at the tile contents, just because players have to track things themselves, so they'll be, like, in the back of their mind, they'll be tracking and just observing while they're tracking what the patterns of the tile distribution is. Whereas here, it's automatically being done. So you might not remember to look at the contents of the bag. But it looks like she's playing potion without even looking at the contents of the bag, or I might have missed it, but I don't think she opened it up this turn at all.
Maybe she just counted the E's. Maybe she saw there's just E's everywhere. She's like, oh, what's going on here? And she just counted that all of them except one were played. So that's a really cool option. I kind of like it. A great play by Cecilia. And now Jason just has to contend with these massive tiles on his rack all together. It looks like he has an easy option here of just whiz.
Yeah, whiz does score a lot.
In a whiz.
In a whiz. And it does give him a higher QI spot than anywhere else on this board. So it definitely is a good idea, but he's not got the most fortunate pull for him. Drawing IGOO with that is not gonna allow him to get back into the game quickly.
Though he's been able to really contend with those bingos and scoring plays, verbiage, in-hall, spacey. He's had really nice plays of his own, G Tentoria, and so he's only down by 34 points here. It's definitely a game. Cecilia with the advantage. How would you use that here?
Yeah, having the extra turn advantage is definitely really helpful for Cecilia here, because she scores enough with a play like Love that does give her a bit of a cushion. Even if Jason bingos, she could have a high enough scoring play next turn and still be right back in it. So I think
Love making Axel, as we were speaking about earlier. Yeah, that's actually a really great play.
Yeah, I mean, so it blocks the bingo options there. The only thing you need to think about is, oh, well, Axel can be pluralized to Axels, and then you could go to the triple, but she's holding one of the last two S's, and it blocks so many bingos, which is kind of her worst case scenario here, that I really like that idea. It looks like, though, she's going to play Fuel instead, which is a riskier play. I would need to look at the tile bag a lot, and that's what she's doing now. So she might see the F and the W and the M as tiles that can go after the E for two-letter words, and she might reconsider. Although she's still fine with it. So that's pretty interesting. I wonder what tiles, I guess, what contents of the bag would make her not want to play that if not for those 3 available.
Yeah, I think, well, she's just seeing that both blanks are gone. There's no E left. It's very unlikely that Jason will have a bingo. And so if she can just continue to score, she's in great shape to win this game.
Yeah, and so if you're Jason now, I mean, you could play QI off of the I from Wiz, but interestingly, the simulation doesn't recommend that. Although I will say, in these sorts of situations, when you see 4% chance of winning, 3% chance of winning, there is a lot of noise attached to that, just because you need so many things to go right. And it could be that Cecilia will play in a much more conservative way than the engine would play a few turns out.
So here's the interesting stuff. So he has QI and tip. That's probably that's the T and the P, the T in Tentoria, the P in Potion. But the reason that Zoic and even Azoic are doing so well is, if you notice, there are 3 T's unseen to Jason.
Oh, that's super cool.
If he's able to draw one of those T's, he will have QAT next to the I in Wiz for over 50 points if he plays Zoic, and a good
That's
46 points if he plays Azoic. And the only reason you might want to play Azoic over Zoic is just to increase the likelihood to draw one of those T's. So that's really cool. And I mean, it's also dangerous because there are 3 A's unseen to Jason. So Cecilia herself could just have a big play making Azoic. So that might tilt things in favor of playing Azoic himself. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, it's unfortunate for him that Cecilia has 2 of those 3 T's unseen. It's fairly unlikely from our perspective that he'll draw into that. But man, that's such a cool idea. And I would have never, it would have taken me a long time to think about a play like that at a minimum. I might have just not found it.
That's a really cool play that really you really have to think about a ton of options to see it, because your first instinct is obviously to get rid of that pesky Q.
Yeah, so Zoic or Azoic, if he finds that, that would just be like that would leave me speechless. I mean, it's really a tough thing to think about and see over the board. But yeah, that stands out to me so much now that you went over that, Josh.
And it's really interesting, as we were mentioning how fuel is possibly a risky play. Neither player is likely to use that spot this turn. The spot next to the E in fuel, which looks really, really dangerous. So Jason's going to play cargo. He's probably going to hope.
Oh, and he drew the T too, man.
Wow, he did drop it. Unfortunately, it doesn't work now. AZ, it's not a word. So,
no,
but that's pretty cool. If you're analyzing this game afterwards, if you're Jason, you're looking back to the game, looking at Zoic and seeing that you drew the T, you might have some regret. So actually, okay, she is using the spot just because of how dangerous it is.
Yeah.
I was thinking she might play Vogue, VOG, Vex, and Ode next to Bundled, but I think it's a great idea to just block that spot now. Just not give Jason another chance to hit it.
Yeah, although if you're Jason, I mean, how many tiles are there left in the bag? Because if you do play off the Q and the I now, you could be looking at potential bingos here. So, and there is a lane off. There's still a lane, 2 lanes actually. One's really dangerous. So one's on column A off of the E in verbiage and the N in bundled. There are 7 spaces there. And there's another lane parallel to it on column J off of the A in Tentoria and the W in Wiz. So it's impossible to block both those spots simultaneously. So I think playing QI here makes a ton of sense. If he gets the right pull of letters, he might have a bingo in 2 spots, something like Taproot might be available. Is there a P still out? Oh no, there aren't P still out. So I need to look at what other bingos there would be in the pool, but this is definitely, I think, a great idea for him.
Yeah, no, that's probably his best play. He didn't play QI last turn, interestingly, but this turn definitely that's enough of that Q. It's really the worst tile in the game, especially when the U's are gone. Was there one U unseen? Yeah. So I mean, I think he was just giving himself one turn to maybe draw that U, but after he didn't draw it, that's it. You got to get rid of it.
So interestingly, Cecilia looks like she wants to block that spot now. One play I would consider here is tisk, TSK, just because there are so few vowels left. You might want to hold on to that vowel, but that might not. Oh no! I was going to say she has tisk tisk, right? TSK TSK is a word, but no, there's only one K on her rack, which would be really
luckily that's there's only one K in the game.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'd have to check Scrabble GO's software to make sure they got the tile distribution right.
But no, they know what they're doing. So she plays Kit just to block that big spot, keep her lead, just to avoid some disaster scenarios. Even if Jason does have something now, it won't score nearly as much, and she'll hopefully be able to come back. However, she did draw some more consonants, and she was having that trouble in the last game, and it's come back to haunt her again. So this is definitely Jason's opportunity to make some sort of opening, because Celia won't be able to do much about it, but he doesn't know that.
Yeah, if we could see the contents of the bag left, that'd be super helpful here. Kind of try to visualize what he could fish for. It looks like he's playing Zoo pretty quickly.
Ooh, setting up Zoom.
Yeah, it's a cool idea to set up Zoom here. He's down by 50 points, so I'm like a play like Mall, which he drew into here. I'm not sure. Would that be enough? It scores a bunch.
If it were a word, it would score a lot.
Mon is the word. Sorry. Mule. That's what I was mixing up. MEWL and MAWN are both words. I accidentally combined the two. So I guess he has something like moral as an option.
Yeah, I think Cecilia is sniffing this out. She really just wants to block that big spot, and there's nothing much else to do with all those consonants. And this is a great play if she plays it, TORR. She has the two last S's, and that's the only hook to TORR is the S hook, and so that's a fantastic choice if she does choose to play it. She's
yeah, I mean, the one risk
it.
is that there is still the column J bingo line, which is really easy to hit. So I would make sure that bingoing isn't that likely from Jason's perspective either.
Right.
So,
although even if you do make sure of that, it's very hard to block with all those consonants. So I definitely like this choice. Now Jason's going to have to contend with the fact that his setup was foiled, and he's probably going to hope that there's still an S unseen for him to draw, or that Cecilia is unable to make use of that big spot, because she is ahead by a lot of points.
Yeah, so we also set up his L a bit here, but it looks like he did not draw into a bingo. So if Cecilia empties the bag here, she will win if she plays something like Fossa off of Tor, FOSSA. That could be an option for her.
But what is there from her perspective? It's the U. It's Jason's rack plus a U and plus some other.
So natural.
Okay.
There, natural. So she would want to block there. Yeah, I guess, is there any other bingos? I mean, it doesn't matter as long as you see one. That's a good thing to check to make sure that TORRO isn't a word.
Yeah. Yeah, there's also a big possibility of the word laniary, LANIARY, and axle. So wow, so the play. Okay, I thought she was somehow blocking laniary there, because to block both natural and laniary, you have to play to the
Thanos.
R or so, or yeah, you have to play something like Thanos, which is really odd because it creates a new lane. But she does not block Lanieri. Luckily, Jason did not draw into that. It was pretty unlikely, but her time was running down, and she had to make a decision.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder, is it worth it there to kind of do what Jackson did the other night? And what is Jason trying derailment or something? Yeah, I don't know what he was trying, but is it worth it for her to play only one tile since there were two tiles in the bag? She could have played off of Wiz. She could have played something off the eye.
Dentario could very well have been a word. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's really
A cool idea. Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, I was just wondering out loud if it makes sense for her to just play off one tile there only and block the most obvious lane, but in case Jason does have Lanieri, you at least get an extra turn because she did have a bit of a lead. It could have been possible that if you play, like, let's say you play VAW, right, VAW off of the AW Victoria, that still blocks that lane, and it could give you a play like Fossa next turn automatically.
Yeah, that could have been an option. And these players, I mean, if Cecilia had more time, she would have been able to really do the precise math on that, because she knows how much Fossa scores, and she knows how much VAW scores, and she knows how much Lanieri scores. So it's actually just a mathematical equation at that point, which these players are very familiar with.
Yeah, so I wonder if that was the play there. I mean, Vans is still a great idea, just a weird word like Lanieri being available. That's so tough to see, man.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. There's only a few ways to really block that. So yeah, you were saying playing 5 tiles to Taurus was a way to block both Lanieri and natural. Just have to make sure you're not creating another spot for natural, and maybe playing 5 tiles from the DE in bundled. So these are the things, as we saw in the matchup between Jackson and Cesar, that these players are very familiar with the board and just all of the spots on the board, and they know how to block these things. It's just a matter of whether they have time to see it and calculate it.
Yeah, and we see in the chat Eric Trans say, "I want to see 8 more minutes of phonies." If you don't remember, Eric spent about 8 minutes during his match with Cecilia trying phony extensions for jacket. So he tried things like grad jacket, I think dread jacket. He tried a lot of things like that, and none of them were words. And he even chose to not play re-jackets, which he did have, and instead make a higher point play. But it was an entertaining 8 minutes. So it looks like Jason could do maybe 6 more minutes of that. So at least we'll please one fan here. But
yeah, trail vans, that could be an option. I mean, come on, find your best possibilities in the chat. Anti and pin tip and anti, that would be interesting on the top of the board. I mean, I'm really good at finding phony words. I'm not as good as finding real words.
Yeah, I know. It's like there are so many more good phony words than real words. Why do they have to all be phony?
Yeah, I know, man.
Oh,
feels bad, man.
I just meant I can relate. Not yes, you are terrible at finding real words.
It's fine, Morris. It's fine. It's
okay. I mean, having said that, no, I'm just joking.
But no, there's a reason I'm not playing this event. These players are well deserving of being in the semifinals. It's looking like it's going to be 1-1. So we're going to get at least 5 matches here, Morris. How do you feel about our chances as commentators in the next matches? You think we can do it? We can handle it?
I don't know. It is a lot of sitting. Like I definitely have to do like stretches in between the breaks. I don't normally just sit this intensely for this long. So I definitely appreciate those breaks, and I think I'll be able to last, but we can definitely monitor that.
Okay. Well, I'll be trying to take care of you as best I can. Cargo train. What are the suggestions in the chat? Anti-larvins. Oh, that's really cool. Cargo train was already suggested by Steve Grob. I'm sorry, I stole your thunder there. LA train zoo. Or is that supposed to be pronounced that way? Exla train zoo. Oh, okay.
External, yeah.
Yeah, mentioning that doesn't quite fit. We're just having fun here. We know that Jason doesn't have anything, but Jason does not. So he's doing his due diligence here. And he's making sure that he's not missing anything that he might have. That's a bit crazy. But after a while, I think he'll unfortunately give up on this game. But yeah, these players have quite the heart. They're always trying to win, no matter how unlikely, and that's what makes them champions.
Yes. So in the meantime, just remember, if you don't have Scrabble Go on your phone, you can do so super easily if you scan your phone on the right-hand bottom side of your screen. You can get it downloaded today.
Yeah. And what else? What else can we say? I mean, visit scrabble.zone/info.
Yeah, to learn more about NASPA. We know that we normally love playing at the National Scrabble Championship, which would have occurred this month, but can't happen this year. We're going to try to do events like this in the meantime to try to bring together the community, watch some really good gameplay at a minimum, or even play some really good gameplay if you're able to make one of these tournaments. So as Jason is now considering talar and making mule, the word I was thinking of before when I said a phony.
Thanks for not repeating it.
Yeah, I know.
So Tala comes down. These are 4-letter words that are very, very useful in this game. Tala, talar. They're bound to come up at some point. So to everybody in the chat, learn your 4s, learn your 3s, learn your 2s, especially. Jason's playing Tala with the idea of REIN next to cargo next turn.
Very pretty.
And Cecilia can just play anything she wants at this point. Or maybe if she played nothing, she might have lost. But luckily she played something. She played soy for 26 and REIN.
With 2 seconds left again. So
2 seconds. Oh my gosh.
So Cecilia takes game 2. We are tied 1-1. But so far, great 2 games. Basically, though, the person who's gone the blank has been able to take those with opportunity and get the win.